Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Commerce, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Subcommittee of Appropriations. Clerk, if you could open the roll for attendance. All right, clerk, close the roll. We do have a quorum. All right, we've got a number of bills before us today, so we want to move through as quick as possible, but also make sure we're giving everybody a fair hearing on your important pieces of legislation. So first up, we have Delegate McClure with House Bill 1625. Welcome, Delegate McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, HB 1625 removes the farm worker exemption and temporary foreign worker exemption from the Virginia Minimum Wage Act. Under our current law, farm workers on large farms are only covered by the federal minimum wage at $7.25 an hour, and farm workers on small farms are excluded from the federal minimum wage protection, meaning that it is legal for employers to pay farm workers below $7.25 an hour. Through my many conversations with farmers and based on data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we know that the majority of farmers already pay their workers at or above the minimum wage. So we're looking at addressing those outliers that pay well below the minimum wage. According to the fiscal impact statement, this bill may result in additional workload for the Department of Labor and Industry, but the fiscal impact is indeterminate. Mr. Chairman, I hope it is the will of the committee to vote in favor of HB 1625.
Very good. Thank you, Delegate McClure. Does any member of the subcommittee have any questions or comments? Delegate Bloxham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question, because this is also dealing with temporary foreign workers. So you're talking about HB1, HB2 workers. I mean, I'm trying to figure out why we included them when it's a separate program. It's a very controlled program.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I would say to the delegate, thank you for that question. So specifically, the AWR is what you look at. There's like 3 to 4 different criteria that you have to look at when paying those H2 and H2B workers. And usually the minimum wage is the lowest on the totem pole. So the minimum wage is actually well below the AWR in Virginia. So that one wouldn't really impact them as well, but we just want to make sure that we are finally removing that exemption because it's discriminatory in our laws, both for farm workers and the H2 workers. And so it wouldn't impact folks because of the AWR is a lot higher than the minimum wage.
Delegate Bloxham, you good? All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. At this point, we'll take a public comment. Just remind everybody that this did go through the appropriate policy committee. So if you can keep your comments relatively brief and in the purview of what the appropriations committee does, which is look at the fiscal and budgetary impacts. Is there any member of the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this bill? Okay. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition to the bill? Very good. Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Kyle Shreve with Advanced Strategies on behalf of the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. We are opposed to the bill, and our fiscal impact, as the delegate said, it's indeterminate as to have it as our members would be impacted in the economy at large. Just to clear a few things up when it comes to the AWR, as was referenced earlier, if you take H1 or H2B visa workers on your farm, you have to hire any American that applies, and you have to pay them the same rate. The AWR is set by the federal government after survey of workers here, and the minimum wage is the floor of that particular state, and then there's a multiplier put on top of it. Our concern all the way through has been if you remove the farm worker exemption and the minimum wage goes up to $15 an hour, it will push the AWR even higher. Our AWR right now for Virginia and North Carolina, which is our region, is $16.16 an hour. And our wage for farm workers largely tracks that if you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Right now, the median wage for farm workers is $16.63 in Virginia. The mean is $16.91. So there's not a whole lot of variability in that wage. It's all there and tracks up. If you look at the other states that have removed or raised their minimum wage, that AWR goes up towards $20 an hour, and that becomes very unsustainable for our farmers and could impact the economy at large. That's the reason for our opposition, and we thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Travis Rickman from the Governor's Office. Agriculture is our #1 industry here in Virginia, and we are opposed to the bill, and the administration is opposed. But, our overall concerns are on the broader economy at large and the actual ramifications on small and medium-sized farms when you put these practices in. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Tom Torcio with the Virginia Catholic Conference. I'm sorry I didn't get up right away when you asked for those in favor of the bill, so I just wanted to register our support for the bill. I did testify when the bill came up in the other sub, so I want to just thank the committee for its consideration and urge support. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. All right, Delegate McClure, do you have any last words?
I do, Mr. Chair. Just to address the concern around the AWER, there's actually not definitive evidence that shows a correlation between the AWER and the increase in the minimum wage. In fact, we did not remove those exemptions last year, and the AWER still rose. And if you look around the country, there are different examples that show the opposite. So it's completely not definitive, and we have yet to see evidence to back up that particular concern. So I just wanted to point that out, in that there's no correlation in terms of what was just expressed.
All right. Does any member have any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, we operate by motion. All right, it's been properly moved to report and seconded. Clerk, open the roll. All right, clerk, close the roll. That bill reports 5-2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee.
All right. Next up, we have Delegate Reed, House Bill 1742. Welcome, Delegate Reed.
He has an amendment.
Okay.
We got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's someone's glasses here.
Delegate Reed, I understand you have an amendment.
Yes, I do. I have line amendments that are on line 156 and 170, and I believe that they have been posted online.
Move the line amendments. All right. All those in favor of the line amendments, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right. The bill is amended as before us. Delegate Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. What this piece of legislation does is it takes the money that we're currently receiving from the historical horse racing and adds 2 additional entities to being able to receive some funding for the use of being able to develop and build up the equine industry in the Commonwealth. The 2 of those are the Shenandoah County Agricultural Foundation, I had to be sure they got the right name right, and the Great Meadow Foundation, and each one of those would receive 0.0125% of the proceeds, the remaining proceeds. The other thing that this piece of legislation does is that currently we are using in this particular section on lines 151 and 152 that we are only putting 0.01% towards problem gambling, and that has been increased to 0.025. And just to give you a point of reference of how much money we're talking about, the 0.01 that is currently going towards problem gambling is about $480,000 a year. This would increase that to approximately $1.2 million. And I believe from discussions when we were in general laws that it was determined that we have an increasing problem of problem gambling, and this would actually be money that they could use. And then the money that would be going towards the Shenandoah Downs Agricultural Foundation as well as Great Meadow would be about $600,000 a year for them to be able to do improvements to those equine areas that they have there. We have written specific language into the items that we've added that says that they are going to support the promotion, education, maintenance, and safety of horse racing at such facilities. The intent being to put guardrails around that so that it is not used for other possible unintended consequences. That's the gist of the legislation, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Reed. Does any member of the committee have any questions for the delegate? All right. Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the measure?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. Susan Gaston on behalf of the Shenandoah County Fairgrounds Association. The Shenandoah County Agricultural Foundation is the nonprofit of the association. We appreciate Delegate Reed bringing this forward. The Downs has has sponsored and hosted harness racing at that location for well over 100 years. So it is our intent to keep this going. Without your support, I think it could be a little bit difficult to reach that objective. So we appreciate any opportunity to support the ongoing effort of harness racing at Shenandoah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Delegate Reed.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the bill? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to the bill?
Move to report with amendment.
All right, back to the committee. It's been properly moved and seconded to report with amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk open the roll. All right, clerk close the roll. That bill reports with amendment 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the subcommittee.
Thank you, Delegate Reed. Let's see. I think since Delegate Willett is on the committee, we will pass by for temporarily. I don't know that we have Delegate Ward here yet. We could do an easy one. House Bill 1950, Delegate Hernandez. He would like to have this passed by for the day. If I could get a motion. All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, that's passed by for the day. Let's see. Delegate Clark, House Bill 2179.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. I do ask that the subcommittee move the line amendments that I have on line 31.
Okay. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to accept the line amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, the bill is amended as properly before us. Delegate Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in that line amendment, we just changed on line 31. We strike and insert or. So House Bill 2179 allows Virginia investment performance grants to be awarded under more lenient requirements in localities that are economically distressed. Currently, in order to receive these grants, a project must pay its employees on average at least the prevailing wage of the locality. This bill would lower the requirement to 85% of the prevailing wage in localities where both the unemployment rate and the poverty rate exceeds the state average. The 85% prevailing average wage provision for the stretched localities as part of the new job creation criteria in the Virginia Investment Performance Grant statute would bring it in line with other incentives provided by the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, such as the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund, which has included this provision since 2006. The continuity this creates across incentives programs allows the VEDP to create more competitive incentive packages to continue the growth of manufacturing, research, and development service companies across the Commonwealth. And this will directly be able to help Suffolk and Franklin, who are double distressed localities. I hope it will be the will of the body to support this bill.
All right, thank you, Delegate Clark. Does any member of the committee have any questions or comments for the delegate? And seeing none, I guess the point is we usually target the prevailing wage as our goal. However, there are some localities, like you said, that are double stressed where any job is better than no job at all, and so this just provides a little extra flexibility with respect to the program. Okay, seeing nothing at the committee level, do we have any member of the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the bill?
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, Abigail Westcott with the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. We thank the patron for carrying the bill. The VIP or the Virginia Investment Performance Grant helps encourage continued capital investment from existing Virginia businesses. In order to be able to tap into this grant, you have to be a business that's been part of the Commonwealth's economic flow for 3 years or more. You also have to be able to have a capital investment for your project of $25 million or more. There's 92 localities that either are defined as single distress or double distress. So this really opens up opportunities across the entire Commonwealth. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Rob Bohannon here on behalf of the Virginia Economic Developers Association. Appreciate Delegate Clark bringing the bill, and for the reasons stated by VEDP, we support the bill.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to the bill? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the committee. So it's been moved to report as amended and properly seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk open the roll. Clerk close the roll. That bill reports 7-0. Thank you very much, Delegate Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Delegate Lopez, House Bill 2303.
Delegate Bulova, how are you?
I'm doing very well.
Last year, we passed HJ 43, requesting the Board of Veterinary Medicine, in consultation with the state veterinarian, to develop a report identifying solutions to address the shortage of large animal vets in Virginia to help with farms and livestock, which is actually a considerably serious issue. HB 2303 addresses the key policy recommendations of that study. Here's the problem. Fewer than 3% of all veterinary graduates are going exclusively into large animal practice, while 50% of graduates are exclusively working with companion animals, dogs, cats. Only 5% of vets are food animal veterinarians, and veterinary student debt is outpacing the earning potential for large animal and public health veterinarians. And addressing this shortage is imperative to the health of Virginia's food supply chain, agriculture operators, rural communities, and livestock. This bill directs the state veterinarian to establish a large animal veterinary grant program no later than July 1st of 2026 in order to provide grants to increase and stabilize the number of large animal vets practicing in areas of the Commonwealth that have been identified by the state veterinarian as having a vet shortage. One of the key issues identified by the study was the burden of student loans on graduating vet students and the bonuses and other financial benefits offered by small animal vet practices that large animal vet practices can't match. HB 2303 attempts to balance those scales a little bit. A budget amendment has been put in place to cover the $450,000 required for this program, and I think this is a small price to pay to protect the safety of our food supply, improve public health, and ensure one of our largest industries can function better. I hope it's the pleasure of the committee to pass the bill.
All right. Does any member of the committee have any questions or comments of the delegate? I guess, do you think this will be controversial? And if so, will we need to do ayes and nays?
No.
Right. All right. All right. Any member of the audience wish to speak in favor of the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Rachel Henley with Virginia Farm Bureau. We thank the patron for bringing this forward. We support the bill.
Great. Thank you. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the measure? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the committee. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to report. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk open the roll. All right, clerk close the roll. That bill reports 7-0.
Thank you, Delegate. Thank you, members of the committee.
Okay, I think up next, Delegate Phillips. Are you here for Delegate Marshall? All right, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here about HB 2540. Creates a new lithium-ion battery grant fund to support MEI-approved economic development project for Microporous in the Berry Hill megasite, which is in my district. Delegate Marshall did most of the work, and after redistricting, I got to get in the picture there. Yeah, and so we're just so thankful for all the help we've had from VDP, the governor, and so many MEI's approval and things like that. And so we just asked for passage of the bill. $60.6 million paid out in an aggregate from 2026 through 2045.
Mr. Chairman, I move the line amendment.
All right, is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor of the line amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we got the bill before us as amended. Does any member of the committee have any questions for Delegate Phillips? All right, seeing none, is there any member of the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the bill?
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, Abigail Westcott with the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. This was a project that was approved by the MEI Commission in October of 2024. Just some of the metrics for you all for based off the project. There was an agreement for the grant of $60.6 million as the incentive, and that is based off of the completion of a capital investment of $1.35 billion and over 2,000 jobs created. I do also want to note that this is the first project at this mega site, and there's a lot of excitement due to that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Any member of the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the measure?
Move to report as amended.
Seeing none, bringing it back to the committee. It's been properly moved and seconded to report as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll. That bill reports with amendment 7-0. Thank you very much, Delegate Phillips. All right, we'll move on to House Bill 2453 from Delegate Hodges. Delegate Hodges has sent a letter requesting that bill be struck from the docket. If I could get a motion as such. It's been properly moved and seconded to strike House Bill 2453. Clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll. That bill is stricken from the docket on a vote of 7-0. All right. Going back to members of the committee, Delegate Willett, House Bill 1901.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, I do have a substitute.
I'll make the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. All right, the substitute is properly before us. Delegate
Sure.
Willett.
Mr. Chairman, I should have asked, are you okay if I present from here?
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I think many, if not all of us, have traveled Virginia with children going to sporting events, various tournaments and training things, and this has become quite an industry in Virginia. Henrico County, where I am, and representing Western Henrico, we actually have an office now created just for the purpose of recruiting sporting events into the area. This could also, you may have participated in or attended regional basketball tournaments, and there have been great events like golf tournaments, the bicycle championships we had hosted here in Richmond in 2015, things like that. What this bill would do is create what is going to be called the Virginia Sports Tourism Incentive Grant Fund. This would be an incentive grant program designed to support events like I mentioned, youth events, amateur events, collegiate events, other sporting events that are competitively bid in order to attract the athletes, the visitors, their families to Virginia, particularly from outside the Commonwealth. This has an accompanying budget amendment to put $5 million. This actually came from the governor's budget. $5 million incentive fund, enabling Virginia Tourism, who would oversee this, to attract an estimated $180 million in visitor spending. That also would gain us $3.5 million in net state tax revenue. Based on the pilot program, this would be, we think we would actually do even better than that going forward and eventually be generating more tax revenue than actually is being spent on the incentive. I would welcome questions, but I do have some experts in the room who could certainly talk more about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate Willett. Does any member of the committee have questions of Delegate Willett or comments? Seeing none, do we have members of the audience who wish to speak in favor of the measure?
Chairman Bulova, great to be before you today, and distinguished members of the committee. Thank you to our patron, Delegate Willett. Thank you so much. I'm Rita McClenny, CEO, Virginia Tourism Authority, and we will manage the program as we do with several other successful grant programs. This has an impact statewide. Virginia wants to get in the game, no pun intended, to compete with other states. And if you are travel parents or have been travel parents, yes, you spent money in Virginia, but also perhaps you had to cross our borders to go to other places. And we want more of that revenue here in Virginia. And it is a net positive revenue generator, which is all about the bottom line. So it's a great investment. And Virginia Tourism will convene a panel of stakeholders that will advise us and help promulgate the criteria by which the program will be managed. And we look forward to being, again, a competitor in this space. And of our $33 billion that is in visitor spending, 8% of that is attributed towards sports tourism. And it really was a leader coming out of the pandemic, and it continues to grow. And one of those reasons is many of our localities are making significant investments in infrastructure, like you heard from my patron, and that we see across Virginia. So it is a space where we're growing, and that will also help raise the revenue visitor spending overall for Virginia. So we see this as one of the growth aspects for tourism statewide. Thank you for your attention.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Randy Pearson on behalf of Two Capitals Consulting on behalf of the Roanoke Regional Chamber. We strongly support this bill. Tourism is a big part of our economy in the Roanoke region. Sports tourism is a big part of our economy in the Roanoke region, and for that reason, we strongly support this and thank Delegate Willett for bringing it forward. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members. Ethan Betterton, Virginia Chamber of Commerce. Associate our comments with the previous speaker, except apply them statewide. Same deal. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Willett, thank you for bringing this forward. As both a parent, I'm Eric Terry, and the president of the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. This is a lifeblood for our industry. As Rita mentioned, coming out of the pandemic, sports tourism was a real catalyst for us. But I also happen to be a parent who has spent a lot of money outside of the state of Virginia, so I'd like to do that here in Virginia. So we strongly support this measure. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carla Murray with Richmond Region Tourism. We represent or promote travel for the city of Richmond, as well as Henrico, Hanover, Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, New Kent, and Ashland. Like Eric and some of the others have mentioned, I'm also have been a travel sports mom, so I know how these things go. And we fully support the Virginia Sports Tourism Fund. We were a part of the pilot program and received about $100,000 from that. And in return, we got around $1.2 million. So great ROI there. We also see about 70% of our room night bookings coming from sports tourism. So as everyone has said, we want to see more of that money coming into Virginia. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Lloyd from McGuire Woods Consulting. I've been working with many of the parties that have spoken here for the past year to try to get this here. So thank you for Delegate Willett for your leadership here. And I will also note, as the parent of a teenager, I am a victim of the youth sports industrial complex, and am tired of spending my money at roadside hotels in Maryland and overpriced chicken tenders in North Carolina. Would really like to see that happen here in Virginia, and hope you will support this. Thank you.
Thank you. You're my favorite testimony of the day, sir. Totally relate. All right. Any member of the audience wish to speak in opposition to this bill?
Move to report with substitute.
Seeing none, we bring it back to the committee. It's been properly moved to report with substitute and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll. That bill reports with substitute 7-0. All right, next up, I see that we have Delegate Ward to speak on her House Bill 1928. Welcome, Delegate Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. House Bill 1928 to raise the minimum wage in Virginia is the purpose of this bill. But the bill fulfills a reenactment that was placed on the minimum wage bill that you might remember that we passed in 2020. This bill is intended to satisfy that reenactment by the minimum wage law we passed in 2020 in House Bill 395. Since that law passed, the minimum wage has increased from the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. It's amazing to think that we had that much trouble raising the minimum wage from $7.25 an hour. But as of January 2023, it's now $12. And under this bill, the minimum wage goes up statewide by set increments on the first day of each year as follows. In 2026, it would be $13.50, and in 2027, it would be $15 an hour. Currently, the minimum wage is rising by a rate equal to the Consumer Price Index on October the 1st of each year. Right now, it is $12.41. If the minimum wage ever surpasses what we've set, we will adopt the federal minimum wage. And that's the purpose of this bill. It had to be reenacted, and that's the purpose of this bill.
Great, thank you very much, Delegate Ward. Does any member of the committee have any questions, comments? Delegate Bloxham.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just one question. Was there any thought when you approached this bill again to have any regional adjustments, meaning $15 minimum wage if you start at DC and you run down 95 and you hit Richmond, and then if you take a left and hit at 64 and you run to Norfolk, it's not a big deal. But when you hit some of the rural localities, $15 is going to push people, it's going to make a choice between keeping them or not. So I didn't know if there was any thought about making any regional adjustments in this bill.
Well, when we brought the bill last year, and we had to have a report back, I don't have all the studies, but they showed that the regional, if we did it by regions, it was not going to help. One thing they thought also was people will look at a line and they will recognize if I cross the line, I'm going to get paid more money. You don't want your people to leave and cross the street or cross another mile or two just to get that minimum wage. But it did say, the report, and if I can get that report, I promise I'll give it to you. It showed that having it by regions did not help and did not hurt.
Delegate Bloxham.
Well, I will be interested to see that. I mean,
Okay.
The wages have just gone up anyway, because once you raise the minimum wage, it kind of pushes everything else up.
Yes.
But there is going to be, I think we're hitting the levels that there's going to be, there's a lot of compaction in the wage scales within my businesses, and it's going to soon become a point where I'm going to have to make a decision whether I keep 8 people or if I'm going to have 7. So, I mean, I think we're hitting that level when you start hitting the 15 and then you start going up automatically. And as far as the line goes, if you're close enough to that line, you're going to have to compete. We're all competing for people. We're all competing for good people. It's not like you can just find 30 people at minimum wage. That's just not the case. If you can find good people that show up and you're competing against other industries, you have to be competitive. So I've never really supported the government telling me what to pay, but that's fine, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I do have one comment I'd like to make.
Delegate Ward.
Remember that whenever you increase a person's wages, people are going to go right out and put that money right back into the community. So as you pay your workers more money, they're going to put it right back into their community, because people who are making low wages like that, they don't have savings account. They can't bank it away anywhere. They're going to put it right back in the community.
All right, thank you, Delegate Ward. So just a reminder for the audience, this was heard in Labor and Commerce. So we do invite comments, but please recall to keep them brief and also focused on the purpose of appropriations, which is to look at the larger budgetary impacts. But is there any member of the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the measure? All right, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. My name is Christian Martinez, Research and Policy Analyst at CASA, and I will be brief. We support this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, Tom Torcio with the Virginia Catholic Conference. We support the bill.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. I'm Ramon Cepeda Ramos with the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy, and we strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Kavi Hoffman, President of Virginia Now, National Organization for Women, strongly support this bill.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Julia Newton, SEIU Virginia 512, and we strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Kirk Jones. I'm representing CWA Virginia State Council, and we also support this bill.
Very good, thank you. Is there any member of the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to the measure? All right, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Ethan Betterton, Virginia Chamber of Commerce. When labor costs increase for business, that increases costs for consumers, and for that reason, we'd ask you to oppose the bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, we bring it back to the committee. Is there any discussion or motion? All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to report. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, clerk, open the roll. All right, clerk, close the roll. That bill reports 5-2. Thank you very much, Delegate Ward.
Thank you, members of the committee.
All right, now we got Delegate Krizik, House Bill 2059. Delegate Krizik, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the subcommittee. House Bill 2059. We last year we were able to get it out of Ag with a good vote, and I think it was unanimous. And what this does is it provides $200 million in dedicated funding from the recordation tax revenue to invest in Virginia's public outdoor spaces and in grant programs that help interested landowners protect their land from development, conserve natural resources, and increase access to the outdoors for all Virginians. You've heard a lot about tourism and everything. Outdoor recreation is at least an $11 billion. That was back in 2022 report industry. So $11 billion industry. Lots of tourists come from all over the country. And we have Virginia's trails, their state parks, other public lands are in high demand from Virginians and out-of-state visitors, but we are underfunding them, and we're struggling to provide the staff, programs, and infrastructure needed to support our level of visitor traffic. And it's a real problem. We keep growing, bringing some new parks online, which is very important, but we're not given all the resources that are necessary. In addition, historic sites like battlefields and sites important or marginalized communities are unprotected from development. Farms and forest lands are also at risk of being converted to other uses. There just aren't sufficient funds to work with landowners who want to conserve their land. The funding mechanism of this bill is recordation taxes, and it's been done in many states. They're levied at a rate of 0.25 per $100 value of property being transferred. It does not impact the recordation tax. It does, or the amount of funding localities receive through the recordation taxes. So this is not any kind of tax increase or anything like that. This funding can help ensure current citizens, future generations, and visitors can count on the places that make Virginia special. And I know we have a lot of people here to testify in support of it, and I hope it'll be the will of this committee to support this. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Delegate Krizik. Does any member of the committee have any comments or questions of Delegate Krizik? All right, seeing none, we will move to audience. So for those who wish to speak in favor of the bill, if you all can go ahead and line up and just be cognizant of the time. And if you want to just say I support or agree with somebody else's comments, that is perfectly fine as well. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. I'm Nikki Rovner. I work for the Nature Conservancy. We're very grateful to Delegate Krizik for bringing this bill forward. I imagine that the foremost question on your minds is why this amount and why do we need dedicated funding? And the answer is very simply that through the regular appropriations process, all these programs are being underfunded. What they're getting is insufficient. How do we know it's not enough? One thing is you're seeing more and more budget amendments for individual projects that could be funded with some of these programs if the programs were adequately funded. Another way we know that is that the Virginia Land Conservation Foundation is only able to make very small contributions to very big projects. Those projects, if they can get done with many sources of funding, federal, private, only a little bit of state funding because that's all that's available from VLCF. Another big problem for VLCF is the funding level is low enough that we're not seeing very many projects in Northern Virginia because Northern Virginia real estate is expensive. And that's where we have, the highest population that needs to be served with open space. Our other grant programs are not funded sufficiently. $1 or $2 million doesn't go very far with real estate statewide, or some of them have become unfunded. Our state agencies that do land conservation and make land available to the public, the Department of Forestry, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, Department of Wildlife Resources, they all have landowners who want to make their land public. But those landowners, if they want to work with those agencies, are going to have to wait for years to put the funds together to purchase those property. trails. I think you all know about the demand for trails and how it has skyrocketed. You all know about trails in your districts or nearby districts that are ready to be built, but localities cannot fund them by themselves. And the last one is perhaps the most obvious. We're really far behind in taking care of our state parks. We have a giant maintenance backlog. We have state parks that are land banked that are not being developed so that they can actually be used by the public. So what we're asking for is a comprehensive solution so we can all feel good that we are fulfilling our obligations to future generations. And what we're hoping for is that you will help us work on this and determine what is that comprehensive solution. We really thank Delegate Krizak for his foresight and his vision in putting this bill before you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Bulva and members of the committee. I thank Delegate Krizak for putting this together. My name is Larry Zaragoza. I live in Fairfax County. I support this bill, and I think it's important that we maintain what we have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members. Thank you, Delegate Krizak. I live in District 27 in Chantilly, Virginia. I'm a member of the mountain biking community and the adventure racing community. Also a father of 3. I love any opportunity to pull my kids away from technology, put it in the pocket and reconnect them with nature. I really appreciate and rely upon Virginia's investment in national parks or state parks and trails and the outdoor grant programs. I think it's good for Virginia's economy. I think it's wonderful for our health and well-being, and any land that we can preserve and keep in its natural state also helps to offset and mitigate the impacts of climate change. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Kate Wofford. I'm Executive Director of Alliance for the Shenandoah Valley, and pleased to come to and support this bill from the Shenandoah Valley, where agriculture and tourism are our top economic drivers. And 4 of Virginia's 5 top agricultural producing counties are in our region. And unfortunately, the last U.S. Census data from last year showed that we have lost 15% of our farmland in these top ag counties. And family farms want to protect their farms and keep these lands in production, and this dedicated funding would help enable them to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Blair St. Ledger Olson with the Virginia League of Conservation Voters. We thank the patron for bringing forward the bill, and it has our full support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Jay Ford with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. I also serve on the Virginia Land Conservation Foundation Board. I had to go back and look, but I am going into my 11th year on that board, so I have a little bit of historical background. We have had a number of years where we had $0, and the code says we still have to meet, so it's a very depressing meeting. We come together and we say we have no money, and then we leave and go back to our parts of the state. But I think the comments that Ms. Rovner with the Nature Conservancy made really highlight a key aspect of this piece of legislation is you have to have consistency. For a group like VLCF, they help put together major projects by offering a state portion. And in those years when we had $0, we knew significant projects were falling through the cracks around the state because of that lack of consistency. So in addition to that, land conservation is hands down one of the best water quality protection mechanisms there is, and investments for the state. So for all of those reasons that have been mentioned, we thank the delegate, and we hope you all support this measure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Heather Richards with the Conservation Fund. In addition to everything that's been said, I want to emphasize that this bill is important because it addresses the maintenance and operation concerns that come with the Commonwealth's current conservation lands, while ensuring that we can still take advantages of the opportunities that arise to create new recreational facilities and conserve more of the special places that make our Commonwealth special, an incredible place to visit. And for that reason, we support the bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee, I'm Alan Rowsome from the Northern Virginia Conservation Trust. I want to thank the patron for offering the bill. This bill includes funding that is a lifeline for local and regional land trusts across the state who do great work, and we urge your support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, Christian Martinez-Lamus, CASA, we thank the patron for bringing this bill forward, and we have a member as well to speak.
Hola, mi nombre es Hilario Colocho y resido en la
la ciudad de Richmond, Virginia, y apoyo la organización CASA. En representación de mi comunidad, para pedirles que voten sí a la propuesta de ley HB 2059, ya que es nuestro derecho humano como personas. Muchas gracias.
Hello, my name is Hilario Colocha. I reside in Richmond City, Virginia, and I'm a member for CASA. I'm here representing my community to ask you to support this bill, as it is our human right as people living on this earth to live on a safe and livable planet where all communities, including migrants, can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Kyle Shreve on behalf of the Virginia Forestry Association. We appreciate the patron and its inclusion of support for our Farm and Forest Land Preservation Fund. We support the bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Allie Wilson with Environment Virginia. I am currently completing the Virginia State Park Trail Quest, where I'm visiting all of our state parks, and I'm continually amazed by what incredible environment we have here in Virginia. The more we can do to protect it, the better we all are off. So we strongly support dedicated funding for all of this, and we're really excited about the bill. Thank you.
Jessica Bowser with the Virginia Association for Parks. We champion parks across the Commonwealth, and we strongly support this bill.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Hart. I'm here on behalf of the National Parks Conservation Association. We're an organization that works to protect and advance America's national parks. Obviously, national parks and land conservation go hand in hand, which is why we support this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Kabi Hoffman, Virginia Now, National Organization for Women. We support the state parks and conservation areas for the well-being of our citizens, our environment, our state, now and in the future. Thank you.
Ian Blair, Wetlands Watch. We support this bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Tommy Herbert with the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. We support the bill, and we hope you'll advance it.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Brantley Tyndall, sports backers, we support the bill, and just want to like a little datum is that in the Central Virginia region, Pocahontas State Park is the largest state park in our portfolio. About 1 million users a year, approximately 12 full-time staff. And we have Director Wells here. If I'm a little off, but we talk regularly. I'm pretty sure that's close. 1 million users a year and 12 full-time staff for a park that is highly popular. It's a gem in our state, and it's in dire need of help. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Pat Calvert, Virginia Conservation Network. Love chicken tenders, but I love the great outdoors even more. We hope that you'll support this bill.
Very good. All right, thank you very much. Yep, and we do have one person who's online, and so Mr. John McCarthy, welcome to us virtually. Looking forward to your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity. We support the legislation. I'm with the Piedmont Environmental Council. The investments that the community is making throughout our region of 9 counties of Virginia to improve public access and to conserve land are very important, but this dedicated funding will allow us to do even more. I think it's a partnership we have with the Commonwealth, and we urge you to support the bill.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Is there any member of the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to this measure? Seeing none, we will bring the conversation back to the committee. Comments, discussion. Okay. Delegate Willett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to echo what we just heard for the last 10 minutes. This compelling testimony. We must do more. We must do more to preserve what is arguably one of the greatest resources we have in the Commonwealth. It's the parks. It's this land that needs to be conserved. So I think there's great interest in trying to do that. I think the issue is finding the money, and we need to work on that. So for that reason, I have a motion to pass this by for the day.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. All right. It's properly moved and seconded to pass by for the day. And I think the idea is we just a chairman's prerogative here. I think the idea is to make sure that we're looking this in context with all the other demands on natural resources funding. I will say that I love and I use our parks a lot. The park system and the trail system was really our respite during the pandemic. So I don't know if we would have been able to have survived with our sanity if we hadn't had the parks to be able to do that. My family is also on that park quest to visit every single one of those parks. If you haven't started that quest, I encourage you to do so. I'll also say from experience that there is great need in the system, and I also agree that right now we are maintaining by emergency, and that is probably the least efficient way that you could possibly maintain a park system. That said, we do need to look at this from a very comprehensive standpoint. I'm glad we've gotten that conversation started. Okay, seeing no other comments, we have a motion on the motion to pass the bill by for the day. It's been properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. All right, that bill is passed by for the day. Thank you to each and every one of you who came out to testify today. We really appreciate your advocacy. Next, we do have one last bill from Chairman Torian, House Bill 2358, and we're going to have our analyst, Kim McKay, describe the bill.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2358 from Chairman Torian codifies parameters of the MEI-approved economic development project for Micron in Manassas, Virginia. Micron has pledged to create 340 jobs and invest $2.2 billion in the state in exchange for $60 million in custom performance grants paid out over the course of 15 years. In addition, the bill includes an incentive bonus for the company of up to $10 million should the company create over 340 jobs during the performance period or maintain the 340 jobs after the 15-year performance contract with the state expires. There is money included in the introduced budget, anticipating a payment to the company of $1.4 million in FY26. We are not anticipating needing to pay the company in that fiscal year, so it saves us a little money in this budget.
Very good. All right, does any member of the committee have any questions of Delegate McKay or comments? Mr. Sickles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you remind us what the federal government has invested in this project? Is it part of the CHIPS and Science Act?
Yes, Delegate Sickles, that's correct. It's part of the CHIPS Act. I believe the company received upwards of $6 billion of investment from the federal government to bring the microchip manufacturing to the state from where it's currently positioned.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Delegate Sickles.
It's so remarkable that the semiconductor that they will be manufacturing here is only manufactured in Taiwan right now, and we're reshoring that to the United States under the Federal CHIPS and Science Act. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Delegate Sickles. Any other member of the committee have any questions? Seeing none. Any member of the audience wishing to speak in favor of the measure?
Mr. Chair.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, Abigail Westcott with the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. We thank the chairman for patroning this bill, and we thank him for going over the bill for everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there any other members of the audience who wish to speak in favor? Anybody wish to speak in opposition to the measure? We will come back to the committee. It's been properly moved and seconded to report House Bill 2358. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk open the roll. All right, clerk close the roll. That bill reports 7-0. Kim, is there any more business to come before the committee today?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and seeing no other further business, do we have a motion to adjourn? Second. All right, so all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thank you, committee.